All right. It is now 19 minutes after 6. The World Health Assembly is held overnight as the worst pandemic in modern history continues around the globe. There have been multiple calls, we've spoken about this morning, for a vaccine, but so far the development of one hasn't been guaranteed. Did rising tensions between the United States and China impact the conference? Otago University international relations expert Robert Patman joins us now. Good morning to you. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Ryan. Thank you.
So 100 countries back this call for an investigation, an independent investigation into where this thing came from, how it all unfolded, did anyone cover it up? And Xi Jinping comes out and says, yes, I also support this call, but only once the virus is being contained. Why do you think he said that?
Well, I think he's feeling a little bit defensive. China was a bit slow to react. We know that the first cases, COVID-19, were detected in mid-November, but it wasn't until the end of December that China was beginning to alert the WHO, the World Health Organization, to that. There's two ways of interpreting that, Ryan. Firstly, it's an authoritarian regime in covering up something that's embarrassing. But I think there's a more charitable view, which may be more accurate, which is that China didn't realize how serious this was, and therefore its first reflex was to cover. But once it realized it was an extremely serious problem by the end of December, they did actually seem to step up, because by early January, they were passing over lots of information to the WHO. In fact, they passed over the entire genome sequence by the 11th of January. And Xi Jinping referred to that in his speech today.
Here's the thing, though. I spoke to she's a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist, very switched on. She's an infectious diseases expert. Laurie Garrett is her name. She says that what many people don't understand about this is that it was on January the 7th that Xi Jinping himself took charge of the country's response. But at that stage, they were recording and reporting to the World Health Organization 50 cases, very few cases. And it wasn't until January the 19th where they finally conceded that there were 400, at least hundreds of cases. So you've got the Chinese president taking charge of what the world believes is just a small insignificant infection, a pneumonia in Wuhan, when in actual fact they must have known about those numbers, and they must have known earlier than they let on.
Well, Ryan, I'm not trying to defend the Chinese government. I think, like many authoritarian governments, they often try to cover up embarrassing developments. But we also have to be clear, the world knew a lot earlier than many people realize. From late November, US intelligence was warning the administration that China, they had seen unusual movements in Wuhan, and they were already telling the Trump administration there was a serious problem developing, a possible pandemic. By the end of January, Mr. Trump's own senior trade advisor, Mr. Peter Navarro, said he warned the president up to 2 million Americans could die from a looming pandemic. So the administration had quite early warnings about what was going on. The fact that they didn't take the issue seriously in the United States under the Trump administration till the 17th of March also raises big issues. Neither China or the United States come out of this crisis particularly well.
We've just heard from the conference that the New Zealand Health Minister, David Clark, has just spoken, and that New Zealand is co-sponsoring this push to have an independent inquiry into what happened here. You mentioned the tussle between China and the United States. To what extent is that actually a bad thing? You know, this finger pointing from the United States, does that sort of take away some credibility from the calls for an independent inquiry in some way?
Well, as I said, I don't think the US or China have come out of this crisis particularly well. I mean, the whole point about government, it's not just reacting to events, it's anticipating them. And a lot of governments have been caught napping by COVID-19. The WHO, which the United States has ironically blamed, because after all, the WHO was offering the US testing kits back at the end of January, which they turned down for COVID-19. The WHO has been warning about this problem for some time, and a number of governments have acquitted themselves quite well in difficult circumstances, including our own, I think. But some have been really slow to react. And so, it's an uneven response to this crisis.
All right, Robert, thank you very much for that. Robert Patman from Otago University.